Hi, so welcome back. So we're going to talk a little bit about the control of respiration this time. I think we're going to keep some of these videos a little bit shorter so they're more manageable as far as the physiology goes. Okay, so this one shouldn't take too long either. All right, so what actually controls our respiration? Well, it's going to be the respiratory center in the brain, and part of that is going to be in the pons, and part of that is going to be in the medulla. Okay. We have three different groups of neurons. We have something called the medullary rhythmicity area. So those are these two right here. We have the pneumotaxic area up in the pons. And then we also have the apnoistic center also in the pons. So let's take a look at the medullary rhythmicity area first. So this area is controlling the basic rhythm of respiration. So we all have our own, set kind of breathing rate. This is what's controlling that normal breathing rate that we have. In general, you're going to breathe in for about 2 seconds and breathe out for about 3. Now again, those are nice textbook numbers. These cells are going to be active for about 2 seconds. So the neurons are going to fire, which are going to send signals to the diaphragm and the external intercostals to contract. And then basically the signal stops. And then when they're no longer being told to contract, the muscles relax. Okay. Other neurons are only active when you have during forceful or labored breathing. So let's just kind of take a look at these images. It's a little bit easier. So over on this side, we're looking at normal, quiet breathing. So again, this inspiratory area is sending a signal for about 2 seconds to the muscles, telling them to contract. They contract, your rib cage expands, pressure decreases inside your lungs, you take a breath in. The neurons stop firing, there's no signal, the diaphragm and the external intercostal relax, causing the chest cavity to contract a little bit, increasing the pressure inside, thereby causing you to breathe out. Okay, again, that's normal, quiet breathing. But now, what about forceful breathing? Okay, well, remember we're also engaging other muscles during that expiratory and inspiratory area. So during that time, you're going to now send signals to diaphragm, the sternocleidomastoid, scalenes, and even the pectoralis minor, causing forceful inhalation. But then you're also going to activate the expiratory area because now you also have to engage those intercostal muscles, the internal intercostal muscles, as well as the other abdominal muscles to cause you to help you forcefully breathe out. So again, during normal resting inspiration, you're simply sending signals to the diaphragm and the external intercostals, and then you stop sending this signal. Whereas during forceful breathing, you send the signal to additional muscles, as well as you're going to send signals to muscles during the breathing out phase as well for them to contract, help force air out. Okay. You have something called the pneumotaxic area. This is located in the upper pons, and it helps control the switch between breathing in and breathing out. So its main job is going to help turn off that inspiratory area before the lungs become too full of air. So that's sort of its guiding role. And then the apnoistic area sends impulses to the inspiratory area that activate and prolong inspiration and inhibit expiration. Okay, so if you need to take a particularly large, deep breath in, right? Kind of like a sigh or something like that. When you're like, right? Oh, come on. There's something called central hypoventilation syndrome. The old name of it was Ondines curse. It tends to be a congenital syndrome, although it can also be caused by accident. Basically, what happens here is that respiratory center is no longer functioning properly. So what's going on is that you have to remember to breathe. Now, depending on the extent of the congenital issue or the extent of the damage due to trauma, it may just manifest itself at night, like when going to sleep, or you may need help breathing even while you're awake, like this young kid over here. The body simply, it's not automatic. Like for us, it's automatic. We don't think about it. We just breathe. Even when you're asleep, you don't have to be conscious to be breathing. However, these individuals do. They have to think about it and forcefully do that. So you can imagine how time consuming that would be, or or thought consuming even. So a lot of times they'll be hooked up to machines. The term Ondines curse comes from, it's an older term. You may see it pop up in some textbooks. It comes from a German myth, from way back in the day. In the myth, basically a water nymph called an Ondine fell in love with a human male, and the human wasn't faithful to her. He cheated on her. So the king of the water nymphs punished him by basically forcing him to stay awake and while breathing. So if he fell asleep, he would basically suffocate to death. I think the curse was something that, I think the king said something to the effect of, you said you would love her with every breath, so now you will stay awake, until your dying breath, or something like that. Anyway, point being, kind of same idea. That's why they call it this. So you have to be awake and remember to breathe with central hypoventilation syndrome. Let's take a look at the chemical regulation. Again, what we're seeing is a negative feedback loop here. So for some reason, you have your homeostasis is disrupted by increasing the concentration of carbon dioxide in your bloodstream, which, if you remember back to the one equation that I really like, where basically what ends up happening is by increasing your carbon dioxide, you're going to decrease your pH. Okay, so it kind of goes to that whole equation. We'll see it again in a bit. But again, by increasing your carbon dioxide in your bloodstream, you're going to decrease your pH, right? And again, your body's trying to tightly regulate your pH levels. So anyway, so that occurs for whatever reason. Receptors in the medulla, as well as the ones near the baroreceptors in the blood vessels. So these are chemoreceptors. And these, you can see in the aorta and the carotid bodies, again, they're near those baroreceptors. They're going to pick up on these chemical cues. They're going to send signals to the medulla and say, hey, you need to breathe more, right? So breathe in more, so start getting the scalenes to help out, get that sternocleidomastoid to help out, get those pectoralis minor muscles to help out, as well as, the abdominals and the internal intercostals to help breathe out. So, let's say this can happen because you just started running. I don't know, for no real reason, because you're going to miss happy hour or something. I don't know, something. That would cause an increase in carbon dioxide, which would drop your pH. The different receptors are going to pick up on this. They send the signal to say, hey, start breathing more, right? That's just what happens. This is how that actually occurs. And by breathing more, you're going to decrease the carbon dioxide, increase the oxygen, and you're going to go back to homeostasis. And obviously this will keep on going until you stop running, right? So let's just kind of take a look at this word-wise. We have these chemoreceptors. We have central ones located in or near the medulla. Again, they're responding to changes in either the pH, which is hydrogen ion concentration, or carbon dioxide levels. Peripheral chemoreceptors are located near those baroreceptors, and they're monitoring the same thing. So again, carbon dioxide levels, hydrogen ion levels or pH levels, as well as oxygen levels. So again, an increase in carbon dioxide causes an increase in hydrogen ions, and a decrease causes a decrease. Okay. And we're, again, keeping very close tabs on this, because even a small increase in carbon dioxide levels can cause an increase, an increase in hydrogen ion levels or decrease in pH, right? So again, you're monitoring your blood very tightly, 7.35, 7.45, right? So what we've just been saying. So the brain is also going to send motor commands to the muscles. It's also sending, saying, all right, I'm going to run on the treadmill. Those skeletal muscles will at the same time they say, hey, respiratory centers, we're going to do something strenuous here. So, you're not totally caught off guard. The proprioceptors in your joints and your muscles are also going to pick up on this information. And basically that's going to send in, signals to the respiratory center to say, look, we're gonna do exercise, we're doing exercise, so pick up the pace. So before we necessarily get into that real oxygen debt kind of situation. Okay. You also have an inflation reflex or the Herring-Breuer reflex that'll help detect your lung expansion to make sure that you're not overinflating your lungs. All right. And we're actually going to stop that right there before we get into this because this gets into a little bit more detail. If you have any questions, please let me know.